It's now time for the American Idiot Show with Tropic Thunder, the Pretty Boy, the Manic Hispanic, Fox, and Money Mike, where we look at the most divisive headlines in the country and we present both sides of the argument. It's the American Idiots, and it begins right now.
What's up, everybody? This is Money Mike Carnahan coming at you 8 days before the election night 2020. So definitely want to get a few things out of the way. Next week, we will not be having a show. Next Monday, we will not be having a show unless just something amazing happens. I'm sure you guys are going to get your fill of us next Tuesday night, as we are going to be streaming all night long election coverage. Going to be the first time we're all just about all under one roof, so definitely going to be exciting to have that happen. And with that being said, we'll go ahead and bring in the cohorts, so to speak, for tonight's episode. We'll start out, of course, with the Manic Hispanic. Manny Hispanic, how you doing this week?
Doing good this week. How about yourself?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I think you're going to like some of my stances this week, so we may end up arguing against the ladies this week. I'm not sure. It may be some fun.
You tend to flip and flop based on who's on, so it's kind of odd.
Are you calling me John Kerry? Is that what you're saying? Well, with that being said, we'll now bring on the Tropic Thunder, Tolly Brown. Tolly, how you doing this week?
I'm doing so good. How are you guys doing?
Hey, it's going good. I'm ready for next week.
I just want to say I respect your flip-floppiness. Hey, that's gross. You know, if we're talking sports teams, then yeah, this hoe ain't loyal probably, except I know he loves my Steelers.
Yeah.
But yeah, politics, I think we absolutely should flip-flop when presented with new information that changes our minds.
Absolutely, I agree, and I think that's the important thing. That's why I know why me and Sean created this show, is so that we can have this type of discussion where, you know, sometimes talk to me 8 years ago, and I'm so staunchly head in the dirt Republican that I wouldn't listen to shit anybody else said. But now, you know, I'm like, yeah, you know, points can be made. And with that being said, the program director of Antifa, I just love, this is the most epic nickname we have on this show. The program director of Antifa, Fox. How you doing this week?
Doing great. Still don't have my check from George Soros.
Damn it, George.
But told that it should be here by election day, you know, so.
Let's hope.
Free paperweights for all. No big deal. Yeah, just chilling.
Well, guys, we don't have very many topics, but I think we're going to have some fun talking about them tonight. Of course, I think Sean will be along a little bit later. He had some issues with the scheduling tonight with his job, so he should be along later. But of course, you know, 8 days from tonight, it is election night 2020, so we're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to start out with, is the White House officially waving the white flag on their COVID response? The White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, said this weekend that they are no longer in the business of controlling the spread of coronavirus. They are just waiting patiently for therapeutics and vaccines to be developed. And we actually have a story on that from the Washington Post.
We're not going to control the pandemic. We are going to control the fact that we get vaccines, therapeutics, and other mitigation areas.
Why aren't we going to get control of the pandemic?
Because it is a contagious virus, just like the flu.
Yeah, but why not make efforts to contain it?
Well, we are making efforts to contain it.
At the end of the day, what we need to do is we need to flatten the curve, and we need to protect the most vulnerable. We need to protect the elderly and those who are infirm and have pre-existing conditions. We need to protect them. But ultimately, the only thing that's going to stop this virus, there's no magic way. Masks won't do it alone. More ventilators won't do it alone. What will is a vaccine, and we're on track to have a vaccine for Americans in less than a year.
And Joe Biden continues to scare the American people and say dark days are ahead, and the president chooses to be positive and say there is a bright future ahead, and we are on track to a vaccine to combat a virus like the world has never seen before.
How many individuals in the vice president's office or the White House have tested positive this week, and how many of them have symptoms?
You know, we don't give out that kind of information. Obviously, Mark Short and a couple of the key staff around the vice president have come down with the coronavirus.
CDC guidelines say that Vice President Pence should quarantine for 14 days. Now, I understand the White House is trying to get around that by saying the vice president is an essential worker. But, Mark, how is going all over the country, how is that campaigning? How is that essential work? It's not like he's helping to contain the virus. In fact, the opposite. He's holding rallies that could be spreading the virus.
Well, actually, he's not just campaigning, he's working.
Okay, so a couple things I want to discuss there. First off, in my opinion, what Mark Meadows said is something that I accepted 6 months ago. There's no control in this virus. There's no control in the spread. There's no... It's gonna spread. It's gonna fucking spread like wildfire. I don't think there is anything. Can you do things to slow it? Yes. Wear your mask. Stand 6 feet apart, etc., etc. But is it gonna spread anyway? I've come to that conclusion 6 months ago. So that's the first thing. Manic Hispanic, where are you on this? Do you think this is the White House waving the white flag and surrendering to COVID? Or do you think this is exactly like I did? I came to this conclusion, like I said, months ago.
I do. I think they're finally putting it out there that they're doing that. Like you, I came to that conclusion a long time ago that there's no way to contain it. It will basically be like the flu virus for the rest of our life.
I agree. Fox, do you think that this is something that they're incorrectly doing, or do you think that they should be trying to do more to stop the spread of COVID, or are you kind of like myself in the Manic Hispanic, just kind of like, hey, it's going to spread?
I think that when we knew that the coronavirus had entered the United States, we should have done a mass government down. And then lack of doing that, and just lack of action created the situation where, yes, nothing we got it now.
Right, right.
I think that there's definitely about it then seen best, like maybe getting financial relief out to work displaced because of coronavirus, or making sure access to PPE, like to contain spread that don't necessarily shut down that are not done that do need to be done.
I don't know if that was clear for anybody else. It was clear as mud for me. I don't know. You were kind of choppy there. I did get that you said that, there should have been more done initially when it came into America and we first discovered it in America. I completely agree with that. I feel like more could have been done from the onset. At this point, you kind of throw your hands up and, yeah, I'm to the point where I'm like, I guess we just wait. We just wait for the vaccine. We just wait for the therapeutics to come out to treat it. I got to the point, honestly, this is going to sound shitty of me, but I got to the point this summer where I was just like, man, I kind of fucking hope I catch it just so I can get it over with. It's one of those things that... It's gotten to that point. Tali, what do you think about the White House just basically saying we're not going to do anything to stop it? we're just going to wait for our therapeutics and vaccine?
Well, on one hand, I agree with you because we can look at New Zealand for an example. They didn't have a single case of COVID until recently. They took all the drastic measures, and they've still had COVID introduced.
Right.
My home, American Samoa, you cannot fly in or out. There are no COVID cases, but they've taken those drastic measures where my uncle died and his son, who lives here with me, cannot go home to bury his father. Now, New Zealand let people fly in and out, and so that's why we see them have an introduced case, whereas American Samoa has been so staunch on restrictions that since they're American, as long as the American government doesn't impose reasonable restrictions to help ease the COVID cases that could grow from the lack of restrictions, they simply won't allow people in and out. And ultimately, I do agree with you. It's going to spread a little bit, but it's going to be a small scale if you just take the necessary restrictions.
Right.
Like we see in New Zealand and American Samoa. Yes, my home has, if you take all of American Samoa, not just the island I grew up on, it's the same population as the size of Conway, Arkansas, about 60,000 people. But if you let a plane fly in or out, that risk for 60,000 people enclosed on an island is huge. So when we look at a big scale like the United States, nothing we do now is going to help. But if we would have done those restrictions back in January, February, March, it definitely would have made a difference.
Now, one thing, though, that brings up a interesting thought, because a lot of people, when the president initially, I want to say it was January, February, or March, initially when this was starting to look bad, the president basically stopped all travel in from China. And he took a lot of heat for that.
Because they didn't disclose
hindsight, is it that bad, though?
Knowledge. It wasn't that bad, but the problem is, why don't you share that information with the American people? If you didn't pay attention to world news at that time, you didn't know what was going on and why those travel restrictions were happening. If you didn't work with shippers like you and I do, you wouldn't have known what was going on. So when we're looking at the vast majority of our entire nation, it was never in the news. They have no business knowing what's going on. It's absolutely the responsibility of our government to be transparent enough to say, hey, we're causing these travel restrictions, but here's why. And if they don't say why, then it's our power as American people to say, well, then you're fucking racist. True. Like, if you don't tell us what's going on, what else are we supposed to think?
That's a good point. I mean, and now obviously Donald's coming back with the "I told you so" and hitting the campaign trail with the "I told you so, that's why I did it." Well, bro, you could have told us 7 months ago that's why you did it, and we'd have been like, "Oh, cool." Because like you said, a lot of people honestly don't have cable anymore. A lot of people don't watch the news anymore. You know, a lot of people get their news from Facebook. Facebook didn't really have much COVID stuff until that I can remember, until it was here in Arkansas. And then it was,
if you
hey,
don't pay attention to world news, you have no business talking about our politics, because you cannot approach American politics with only an American point of view. We have worldwide allies. When we're looking at issues, we need to look at it, act locally, but think globally. That's been a long-held activist tune since, like, what, the 50s?
I was about to say since really I've been alive.
Like the 50s.
Definitely since I've been
really
alive.
Popularized. You have to think globally, which means watch world news, watch what's going on. That's how countries that do face open fascism know that they're facing open fascism. They pay attention to world news and see how it's done everywhere else. Why don't we as Americans do that? We'd see a lot of our shortcomings a lot sooner if we did.
Absolutely. And I mean, Manic Hispanic, I'm not sure. I know you stepped away there for a minute, but I said, you know, we all Manic Hispanic dropped. I guess we're all having internet issues tonight. But yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I can agree with you. If he would have explained it better, he probably wouldn't have taken so much heat for it. But, here we go. If he would have explained it better, he probably wouldn't have taken so much heat for the travel ban with China. But, Manic Hispanic, what I was going to ask you was, do you feel like this is the situation where, Donald Trump's being proven right as far as that travel ban from China, or do you think he should have been more transparent with why he was, and that's why he took the heat he did?
In that position, it's hard to be transparent with 100% of your information. Bottom line.
The whole world knew the information. It just wasn't syndicated on American news. It was syndicated on worldwide news.
Well, no, I would have to disagree with that, though. We didn't know in the early stages when that travel ban came in, we didn't know how destructive COVID was about to be, though. It was still, I believe.
Hold on.
Hey. The travel restriction did happen, though. And if they're using that as an excuse, then yes, you need to accept that you knew where it was going to be. That's bullshit. To say we have these travel impositions, these tariffs, and say this is the reason why, but also at the same breath say, oh, we couldn't share that information. It's on syndicated world news. It wasn't on syndicated American news. That's a problem. We can't blame our
good point.
Whose fault is that? Is it Trump's
It
because
wasn't
he was
on
trying to keep
syndicated
it
news
secret,
till
or is
March.
it the media because they weren't trying to report anything Trump had to say?
Trump didn't say shit about COVID. Let me start.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I believe
when the travel ban was placed.
When he was placing that travel ban, he didn't.
I think when he made the travel ban, he spoke from the Oval Office. I believe. I could be wrong, but I believe he had, and that's full coverage.
What is the date of that travel ban? Like, do we?
Let me look, because that's gonna have a lot to do with my opinion. Because if it was restricted to China at that point, then I don't think we clearly knew.
Because here's what's that travel ban was January or February, and when you talk worldwide news, COVID was trending because of the stock market as early as November.
So I want to know. The reason I want to know what that date is because I want to know what the travel ban date is in comparison to the total shutdown of Italy is. And which
that's a good
came
point.
first? Because if it came after Italy, there's no fucking reason why it should not have been very well known because everybody.
Okay, now this is a little bit different. This says that Trump didn't do it till April. Now April is way after the fact. So, Trump
we already
should
saw
have been a little bit more transparent.
Destroy Italy. Like, we saw it completely decimate Italy. So there's literally no reason. Like, yes, we knew how destructive it was. They all knew how and even like when did it pop up in China? Like October, November of last year.
Yeah, it was pretty late in the year.
It was October, November that it first popped up. And
then
that it was trending worldwide news except for American news. And the president, I said January, but I think it might have actually been as early as February that he first spoke about it and recognized it and then turned around and by March, April was saying, oh, it'll be a miracle and it'll disappear.
Well, if you remember, it was actually like January, February was cruise watch because we were watching this one ship that came from, I forget where, I think it may have been China, a cruise ship, and we were all watching it because they wouldn't let them out, if you remember.
But it was on
because they could have
news for almost 2 months, but yet not trending on American news, not something
Very
that
true.
our politicians were speaking about, especially our president. I'm not going to blame the media before I blame the president. He had enough opportunities to talk about it as our president.
I feel like, yes, this is the point where you go, okay, there's nothing we can do about this. We fucked up. Like, that's what I want to hear them say is we fucked up. Because that's what it is.
And what comes with that needs to be, okay, we fucked up. So now we need to take care of the people whose lives we've completely fucking destroyed by us fucking up.
I agree.
Like, yeah.
What do you mean take care of?
How about all the jobs that were lost because we didn't have a total shutdown end up in a situation like what Tolly was mentioning earlier, where now New Zealanders are going back to work and lives are starting to get back to normal because they get their shit.
So are you more referring to like the stimulus?
For example,
as they reintegrate into civilian life.
In the UK, they're already talking about the West End opening. Broadway's not set to open till like the end of 2021.
Hold on, I just actually heard a report that the UK is, while they are not going to shut back down, the UK, the Prime Minister came out today and said that with the spike that they can't afford another shutdown, but that they're gonna have to tighten the belt again.
Yeah, I'm trying to do
But
this.
here's the thing: they're being transparent about it.
Absolutely, and that is something.
We the people, for the people, by the people. Why don't we have that transparency?
So I agree with a little bit, and this is my military coming out at me, but I agree with a little bit of sometimes you don't let everything go out. Do I think COVID is a national security thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, do I think COVID's necessarily a national security risk? Absolutely not. But do I somewhat... In the early stages, do I see why they played it close to the vest? Yes, because they didn't want to create, obviously, what the fuck happened. Toilet paper shortages and all that shit. Because people are fucking retarded and they're going to do that shit. But by this point, you need to be completely transparent. Hell, by probably, I would say, June, July, you should have been completely 100%. We're kind of fucked in this situation. Manic Hispanic
security to think about, though.
What do you mean, though? Where's the national security risk in being 100% transparent about COVID?
If you start giving your plan on how you're going to bring things into the country and send things out of the country, powers that may want to attack the U.S. could use that kind of information to their advantage.
But
what are we bringing in that has to do with COVID?
Because we are
we're shutting that down so that things can happen.
What are we bringing in that has to do with COVID, though, Manic Hispanic? I'm confused by what you meant by that.
If you start laying out everything that you're going to do, we're going to shut this down at this time of the month. We're shutting this down at that time of the month. They could start using that information.
So I'm not saying release, say, hey, we're scheduling, this building's going to be shut down. I'm saying be completely transparent. Hey guys, this virus is real. This virus is a threat. This is what we're facing. This is the therapeutics we have on hand. This is the amount of N95 masks, for example, and ventilators we have on hand. This is what we're facing.
You were asking, what are we bringing in? If you notice, most of these masks are manufactured in China.
True. I mean, a lot of our goods are manufactured in China.
When they're talking about giving away our plans, all major shippers already have working plans with tariffs and every other rule imposed on international shipping. They already know what we're doing. So what's the harm in being transparent to American people when we can be transparent with business owners overseas?
Because you don't know who's listening or what they're going to do with that kind of information.
I want to know.
The business owners already know everything.
This is true. I mean,
I want to know what you think will happen if. Okay, what do you think would have happened if Trump had been like, okay, guys, this virus sucks. We're just gonna shut down for a couple months. What do you think would happen? I'm just curious because we're sitting here talking about the bad guys possibly doing a thing. So what do you think the thing could happen?
Well,
if borders are shut down, if nobody's coming in and nobody's coming out, what do you think's going to happen?
Homegrown terrorists.
We already got that.
I mean, we do. Michigan.
So going to be shut down. That gives them a whole lot more time.
We have that going on right now.
We
have that going on right now.
On a yearly basis.
So there's no evidence to suggest that would suddenly magically spike.
That's already
I mean,
and that it wouldn't.
This is true, but I mean,
you can't prove a negative. Like that's not how that works.
Prove a negative.
That's not how that works.
My thing is this: if we operate on what ifs rather than facts, then we're in a bad position. And the facts, though, Antonio, were that we knew that this virus was a problem, and we should have, even if we weren't fully transparent, should have been a lot more transparent, in my opinion, than what the hell we were.
I don't know what could have been said that would have changed anything. Him saying it's bad, okay, now we know it's bad and it's still coming.
It's still coming, but people,
fuck ton of people not wearing masks.
Yeah, he's a big reason why people aren't wearing their masks.
He is literally he is the reason people are not fucking wearing masks and taking precautions and having these huge anti-mask rallies at the Capitol. Like, no, like we easily, even if there wasn't a government shutdown, just the president acknowledging, yes, this is what you need to do. Like, regardless of my opinion, like a person, he's got his whole base wrapped around his fucking finger.
He does.
He could have been your damn mask, and every single one of them.
Absolutely.
So I disagree with that because the boxes of these masks plainly say that they're not. They don't work against disease and stuff like that.
Well,
I don't think it's just him that has pushed the no mask issue.
I would agree. It's not just him, but he's a major component.
That notification on the box of masks, and we're talking about the paper masks, I'm assuming.
He's a major component of the problem.
What they're saying, the actual part
y'all gonna argue with me. You can't talk at the same time because I can't.
Hold on, yeah, y'all are talking over each other. Fox, go ahead.
That notice on the side of the box is just stating the actual virus itself can. If someone took the virus and for whatever put it on the mask, it is small enough that it could filter in through the mask itself. What the masks do is if I cough or I sneeze, it's going to that the water droplets that carry the mask or those mucus or not the mask, sorry, the virus, it's going to come on this side of my mask and then transferring it to another mask. Now, yes, if it gets on the mask, you're fucked. But the hope is that everyone wears a mask and nobody gets. That's kind of the point. Like, that's the point.
But at that point, we didn't know that. They were still trying to figure out what the hell it was.
Hold on now. Now, I will agree. There was no studies like we have now, even 4 or 5 months ago, that were showing, now you can see it. You can go on the internet and see the videos of the person, like, coughing or sneezing or whatever, and you can see the videos. 4 or 5 months ago, unfortunately, we didn't have that, and some people do need that kind of visual representation.
So Eastern countries during flu season all wear masks. Like,
yeah,
this is a thing. Like, I'm not gonna disagree in that, like, the general populace may not have quote unquote known this information, but it's not like people don't, like, medical professionals wear masks at their, even without COVID, wear masks at their job during flu season. Like, people know. No, people know. No, the whole, we didn't know. That's not an excuse. People know. That information was not, and I think this circles back around to Tolly's point, that information was not made very in your face in public and transparent and disseminated to the, like, what I would call the base.
Right. I would agree. Tolly, you were wanting to say something? Tolly. Uh-oh. Tolly may be needing to do something real quick, so.
She's muted.
Yeah, I know she's muted. Tolly, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, you were wanting to say something when Fox was speaking?
We were saying the same thing.
Oh, okay. Hey, they were saying it in stereo. We got them both in each ear. Okay, guys. Well, we've been on that one for about 30 minutes now, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the final debate. Here's the highlights.
We're about to go into a dark winter. And he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
Every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
He says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. That man or wife going to bed tonight and reaching over to try to touch their, out of habit, where their wife or husband was, is gone. Learning to live with it. Come on. We're dying with it. And I don't look at this in terms of the way he does. Blue states and red states. They're all the United States.
They went through everything I had, including my tax returns, and they found absolutely no collusion and nothing wrong. 48 million. I guarantee you, if I spent 1 million on you, Joe, I could find plenty wrong. Because the kind of things that you've done and the kind of monies that your family has taken, I mean, your brother made money in Iraq, millions of dollars. Your other brother made a fortune, and it's all through you, Joe. And they say you get some of it, and you do live very well. You have houses all over the place. You live very well.
I have not taken a penny from any foreign source ever in my life. We learned that this president paid 50 times the tax in China, has a secret bank account with China, does business in China, and in fact is talking about me taking money. You have not released a single solitary year of your tax return. What are you hiding? Why are you unwilling? The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world.
We changed the policy.
Your response
they
to
did
that?
It. We changed.
Did not.
They built the cages. Who built the cages, Joe?
Let's talk about what
Who built the cages,
Let's
Joe?
talk about what we're talking about. What happened? Parents were ripped. Their kids were ripped from their arms and separated. And now they cannot find over 500 of sets of those parents, and those kids are alone. Nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. It's criminal.
He's been in government 47 years. He never did a thing except in 1994 when he did such harm to the black community. And they were called, and he called them, super predators. Nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump. And if you look, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, possible exception, but the exception of Abraham Lincoln, nobody has done what I've done.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history. He pours fuel on every single racist fire. Very confused guy. He thinks he's running against somebody else. He's running against Joe Biden. I beat all those other people because I disagreed with them. Joe Biden he's running against. This is the guy who's tried to cut Medicare. So the idea that Donald Trump is lecturing me on Social Security and Medicare? Come on.
Okay, y'all.
What the fuck?
I saw that look, by the way. A couple points there that it didn't hit everything that I wanted it to hit, but the first thing that I want to say is as far as Joe saying that we're in for a shitty winter. And actually, I think we have Mr. Castleberry getting ready to come on. As soon as I see him pop up here, we will be good to go here. Oh, here he is, live from his cellular device, I'm assuming.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Sean Castleberry.
You gave me a heart attack. You said
What's
Castleberry, and for some reason I'm like, you have Bart Castleberry in this fucking podcast, and I was about to lose my shit. I forgot about Sean for a second. Oh my god.
Pretty boy.
How y'all doing?
Oh. Well, Sean, we're talking about the debate, and the first thing I want to bring up here is the fact that Joe said that, we're in for a very dark winter. He painted a very solemn situation of where we are with the COVID response, and I would agree. We've lost 200,000 people. They had a doctor on the news today that said that if we keep on the same trajectory, by next year we'll lose over 1 million. Winter is, right now, according to, of course this always changes, but winter is one of the the months that's going to be the worst for COVID spread and symptoms and things like that. So, that's the first one I want to get into is I think he painted an accurate portrait of where we are as a country with COVID response right now. Manic Hispanic, what did you think of that?
As far as that response, I don't think we're going to be in as bad of a place as everybody's thinking, because people tend to bundle up a lot more when they're cold. So I think they will actually keep more of that stuff in than it spreads. I mean, we were talking about the masks earlier. More people are going to be willing to put on a mask just because of the cold. So
real quick,
I don't know that it's going to spread at the rate that people are thinking it's going to.
Real quick, and I want to thank you, Fox, for saying this, or for bring this to my attention. We do have a little bit of breaking news. Amy Coney Barrett has officially been confirmed as a justice on the Supreme Court. So she is now official. So that could potentially play a role come 8 days from now. She is actually able to hear this situation out in Pennsylvania that we talked about earlier, but we'll get into that in a little bit. I just wanted to bring that up, that she is officially confirmed as a justice now on the Supreme Court panel. Well, I've got 3 blank screens, so I guess I'll go to you, Fox.
I'm here. I'm just driving.
Oh, my bad. Okay, we'll go to you, Sean. What did you think about the Vice President's picture he painted about the very dark winter we are about to enter?
You're talking about Joe Biden.
Correct.
I mean, I think he's right. I mean, all you have to do is look at the numbers and see how many people are becoming infected, and it's just going to get worse now that flu season's here. Yeah, we could have shut this down a long time ago, but we chose to, not follow exactly what we should have done, like other countries. We're in for a hard ride. Yeah, we're in for.
Absolutely. I think Sean kind of broke up there at the end, but he was just, he was saying we're in for a rough winter. Fox, any thoughts on the picture that Joe painted? I mean, I think it could potentially play out as accurate, especially if the White House is gonna, stand back on the spread.
I mean, I'm always a proponent of the truth, and as much as I 99.999 repeated % of me thinks that Joe Biden is human garbage, that 0.00 repeated 1% of me is well, I can appreciate the fact that the dude is honest. Right. Yeah, it's gonna be fucked up. Already, we're already seeing spikes. You're
setting daily records.
Right, because it's getting cold, more people are gonna be spending time inside versus outside. And I see that being the case for restaurants, bars, clubs. Less people on a patio, more people inside.
Right.
It's just going to get worse. I will say the comment about people are more willing to wear a mask just because it's going to be cold. I do think that probably may be a thing.
Yeah, I think so.
You're not going to be complaining about it being so hot and humid and so not wanting to wear your mask. So.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe the maskne will go away because it's been killing me.
By the way, I'm totally digging the mask tonight. Tropic Thunder.
Yes.
What do you think about the picture that Joe Biden painted?
As we all know, I'm not very much a fan of Biden at all. I hold him to almost equal part, a little less disdain than I hold Trump, just a little bit less. I do think that there's room for people to grow. And so he doesn't say the things he says now that he said politically years ago or privately years ago. So I have more of an open heart to what he's saying now versus Trump for that. Whereas Trump says a lot of the same shit and it's really racist and it makes me uncomfortable or whatever else that makes me uncomfortable. I do appreciate Joe Biden's like presidentialism. I'm so worried about Amy Coney Barrett as a Supreme Court judge. I think anyone that disagrees with her religious and political views would be. I think that's fair. Um, I don't know what to think about Joe Biden's political picture because he's not our current president. I don't have any reason to firmly believe he's going to be our future president and make any changes. That's just got to come together.
Okay. Okay. Now moving on into the place where, and I think I was texting you, Sean, during the debate Thursday night. I said, it's looking bad. It's looking like Trump is getting drubbed right now, and somebody needs to step in and throw in the damn towel. And that was the Black Lives Matter portion of the debate. And he actually said, and I saw the look from your face there when you heard it for the first time, Fox. This man said, nobody has done more for the African American community than Donald Trump.
Bitch, what you mean? Bitch, what you mean? The fuck? Like, that's literally the only thing going through my mind. Like, how fucking daft do you have to be, first of all?
He compared himself to Abraham Lincoln.
First of all, Abraham Lincoln was bullshit in the first place. Second of all, the fact that some crusty-ass, old-ass white dude thinks that he's done anything for a community he ain't even been a part of, compared to the people who've been boots on the ground, fighting for their communities for centuries, is fucking ridiculous.
Right.
Like, are you... What?
I would agree. I would agree with that statement. I will say this, though. He played the 94 crime bill like a fiddle. And he did get his point out there. That was the one thing he did well during that section of the debate. He played that like a fucking fiddle. Joe...
also bullshit and racist as fuck, so...
Right. Well, that's what he was throwing out there, He was saying, I ain't done what Joe did. You know what I'm saying? Joe was responsible for the 94 crime bill. Joe obviously tried to distance himself from it. Not much substance, though, from Joe on that. Joe didn't necessarily apologize for anything with that. He just said, yeah, I was a part of it. And kind of, my bad. That was the impression I got from him when we got to the 94 crime bill. Sean, what did you think? Did you, when they were talking about the crime bill, do you think that Joe did enough to distance himself from that piece of legislation?
So you hit the nail on the head right there when you said that he didn't even apologize. And that's something that he should have done to show growth. He should have said, look, I'm partially responsible for this. Along with the Clinton administration, we are responsible for, incarcerating tens of thousands of African Americans in the last 20 years. And I need to apologize for this, and I need to take responsibility for it and promise that we're going to do something about this and change it, because we had one mindset during that day. We have a new mindset now. And if he would have said that, there would have been applause.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. Manic Hispanic, what did you think about that section of the debate?
And I agree with what Sean just said. I mean, he had a very good chance to apologize for it whenever he was running against Kamala.
Very
He
true.
announced the whole thing at that point, and it would have made even more of an impact when he brought her on as a vice president candidate.
You're absolutely right about that. People have peppered Kamala, though, for the 94 crime bill.
Yeah, but she enforced the law. She didn't do anything to try to change it.
That's true. That's very true, as far as that goes.
As far as this picture that Trump is trying to paint, for a long time, Abraham Lincoln had the credit of freeing the slave. Even though we know the truth, that was the picture that was painted. He was the one that was given the credit for a long, long time. And Trump is trying to ride the fact that under his administration, there have been more jobs for African Americans and minorities. Just things seem to look better in the workplace for the minority. So that is why he tries to play that card, that he's done more for the black community since Abraham Lincoln.
Well, and the thing that I literally remember laughing out loud when he said Abraham Lincoln over here, I literally laughed out loud when that happened, because that's when Joe literally started going in on Trump, and I wish they would have showed it a little bit more, because at that point Trump's kind of fumbling over his words. First time I've ever seen Trump look disheveled was in this debate. Now, one last thing before we move on to our next topic that I want to address is the end of the debate. And I am going to give Trump the landmine of the night. Sean doesn't agree with me, I already know this, but the landmine of the night, he set the trap and Joe walked right into it, in my opinion. He looked at Joe Biden and said, Joe, are you saying you want to replace oil? And do I believe Joe meant when he said yes? No, I think he wasn't even paying attention and was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But Joe said yes. And Trump immediately said, Pennsylvania, Michigan, North Carolina, Texas, are you listening?
Come on, man.
Yeah, that was a come on, man moment, honestly. He stepped in a pile of shit that, in my opinion, may come back to haunt him and cost him the election.
I mean,
now, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it'll cost him because, I mean, these elections are run by the rich elite that benefit off of the oil industry anyway. So you're correct in that. However, and I agree that I don't think he legitimately meant yes, because his entire campaign has been in support of fracking.
Right.
So I agree, but let's just live in la la land for a second. If he did say yes, I personally think that we should replace oil. So I would not yes, it'll probably cost him because this is a corrupt, greedy ass system, but
well, you also got to realize too the amount of jobs, like in Western Pennsylvania, for example, around the Pittsburgh area, the amount of jobs that are moved by coal and things like that, that's a lot of votes that could swing that state one way or the other. In addition to what you said about, oil controlling the election and what have you.
Right. Well, and that's all. I feel like, oil versus clean energy is just like a whole other debate in and of itself.
Right.
My response is going to be, there's nuclear energy, which, Arkansas, we have some nuclear energy here in Arkansas. Nuclear energy is some of the cleanest energy in the world. So you can, a lot of those jobs in the oil industry. I'm looking over at my husband now because he actually was a nuclear electrician in the Navy.
Right.
I'm going to assume, my love, but a lot of that stuff you could cross-train people pretty easily, right? I don't know these words. Hydraulic, pneumatic. I don't know. He's saying fancy things. He basically, you can cross-train.
Yeah.
Fairly easily.
Absolutely.
Industries and something like that, and so. But I think that's just a lack of education on nuclear energy and other types of clean energy, and that's a couple decade problem.
I would agree. There is a strong problem where people do not know that there is a alternative. We haven't, as the people here and the voting citizens, we have not been. I don't feel like we've accurately been briefed on the positives and negatives of these potential alternatives.
I know, because I saw your face when I said that nuclear energy is one of the cleanest in the world, and you were like, what?
Yeah, that kind of surprised me, because I'm pretty sure I've heard people complain about Nuke 1, so that's what threw me for a loop there.
My husband is saying that there are less accidents in nuclear energy than there are in solar energy.
Oh, wow. Now, that doesn't surprise me, though, because, wind energy, too, I've heard those windmills blow up all the fucking time too.
Well, it's more about like the installation. He's saying like people fall off roofs all the time and all this other kind of stuff. Whereas in nuclear energy, you have fail safes upon fail safes upon fail. Like you've got fail safes for your fail safes for your fail safes for your fail safes. Like you've got like 12.
Right, you have to. If not,
you would literally like everything in the world that could go wrong would have to go wrong for it to go wrong.
Right. Sean, you said that you don't think it's that big a deal.
No, I don't think it's that big of a deal because, I mean, the Democrats do run on clean energy, you know, and Joe Biden's not going to go against that. The nuclear option is a great option. And you know, back in the 80s when 3 Mile Island had its accident, you had Chernobyl, you had Fukushima, all those were about 20 years apart, and they were all different circumstances that happened at each one of these plants. Nuclear energy is safer and cleaner than almost any other kind of energy. And all of those peaceniks back in the 80s that were against nuclear power, almost 99% of them have changed their opinions about nuclear energy, and they want nuclear energy because it is cleaner and it is better for us. Because we look at the example in Europe, over in Germany and France and Sweden, Switzerland, all these other European countries that have nuclear power, that haven't had all the disasters, they do it a lot better. And instead of us, you know, and I say this on almost every damn show, instead of us claiming that we're the greatest that ever was, we need to go and research other countries and adopt what they're doing and then improve on what they're doing so that we can say we are the best.
I would also say that with a switch to nuclear energy and the topic of like becoming better and improving on ourselves on top of what these other countries are doing, I would also advocate for a decolonization factor because I'm sure not a lot of people know this, but the majority of those resources that we get for our submarines, our nuclear submarines, that Europe gets for their nuclear plants, those resources are plundered out of places like the Congo and Nigeria, a lot of times playing on local genocides and civil wars in order to gain these resources either for extremely cheap or just taking them. So I do think that we would need to be critical of that. And I think that we cannot with a genuine spirit make the move to nuclear energy without also advocating for the sovereignty of African nations. That's just kind of my spiel on that.
Right. Manic Hispanic, what did you think? Do you think that Joe could have potentially stepped in a pile of shit that could cost him the election?
Yes, I do. If we sweep all this other stuff that we've been talking about to the side, because this wasn't about nuclear energy or this wasn't knowing about this or that, bottom line is he said it and Donald Trump pointed it out to the states that matter right now.
Right.
Yes, I think it is going to hurt him right now. When we do get educated and we do start changing to wind power or solar power or nuclear power, no, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But right now, it is.
Right, absolutely.
I can agree with that.
I can agree with that as well. For everybody that just noticed, Tolly will be in the comment section. She said she's going to join as a viewer. Unfortunately, her internet issues got the best of her there, but she said she will be active in the comment section, joining us in the debate that way. But no, yeah, I truly do. And Sean, I think I break it down like this. It comes down to, everybody knows that the presidential election is not a 50-state election. It comes down to a handful of battleground states. Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, Ohio, etc., etc.
And Fox pointed out a very good point that the election is based on a lot of rich people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the thing. That's why I say this is such a big deal. And, you know, he spent a majority of the weekend walking that back. Kamala saying that, you know, she doesn't support fracking, but she knows that Joe Biden wouldn't replace it and things like that. Like stuff that I would never expect Kamala to say. But they're having to... I think it's more shocking to me that Trump actually got a seasoned politician and a seasoned debater like Joe Biden to step in that big of a pile of shit. I think that's the big deal to me.
Every dog has its day. A clock is right twice a day, right?
Right. I would agree.
So, I mean, it's bound to happen. I mean, it's the law of averages that, Donald Trump is going to be right once or twice, maybe a year. Okay. The rest of the time, though, we need to look at everything else that he does and add all of that up. What are the pros and cons of having Joe Biden versus a Donald Trump? Well, if we want to continue having an oligarchy, which we have right now, and go ahead and kill our republic, let's go with Trump. So
well, to be fair, Sean, though, are you going to tell this to the Pennsylvania people that are sitting there putting food on their table through these coal jobs and things like that? Are you going to tell them to vote against their better interests?
What would Donald Trump tell these people if he was actually sitting in a room with them and he wasn't the president?
Well, Donald Trump wouldn't be in a fucking room with them, first off.
But that's what I'm saying. He looks down upon the middle class. He works down upon the working man because he's been given everything. He is a wealthy man, and he always has been. He's never worked for a damn thing in his life. So he doesn't understand America. He paints this picture that he's done more for African Americans than anyone else in this country. I mean, give me a fucking break. Lyndon Johnson signed the fucking Civil Rights Bill. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he doesn't give credit to anybody. He thinks he's Jesus.
There's times where I'm like, this dude thinks he's the greatest thing that ever walked the earth. I mean, there are times when I'm just like...
He really does.
I'm going to shut down your entire industry.
This is true. This is true, too. That's my point, though. You have Joe Biden, who, the only time that I think this argument came through was with the oil comment. Trump was hammering it all night. You've been in politics for 40 some odd years. Why haven't you done anything about it yet? That was his big hammering point all night during this debate. But the only time it really struck a chord, I believe, was with the oil comment. That, and what the Manic Hispanic just said right there, is where I think he fell into the trap. Like I said, though, and Sean, I don't know if you agree with me, I don't think Joe truly meant when he said, that he meant that he was for replacing oil. I think he was just kind of bothered by Trump at that point. I guess I didn't hear your opinion on that. Do you think he actually meant what Trump is spinning, or do you think that it was one of those, like I said, just an annoyance, and he just said, what the fuck ever?
I mean, if he was that unguarded to make a mistake like that, then he deserves to lose. The thing is that he has to be a leader. He has to be able to think on his feet. He has to be able to answer those tough questions in a way that isn't going to piss off a part of the country. And I thought he did that well when he said, I'm going to be the president of the United States, not just the red states.
That was a poignant moment for me.
And I disagree with that because while he said, I don't see blue states and I don't see red states, I see the United States, then immediately after he goes on to talk about the red states. Look at the red states doing this.
But he has to point out what Trump's doing. He had to make the point of what Trump is doing because that's all Trump does. Trump tries to defund, blue states because they don't want to follow his regime. I mean, that's not fair. That's not being the president. He's trying to be a dictator. We don't need that.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's my thing with this whole situation. I do think that I will say this before we get into who we think won this debate. I don't think Fox watched it, so Fox may not have an opinion one way or the other, but I think the three of us can weigh in on it. I think that Joe struck the best and did the best whenever he was looking in the camera and he was talking directly to the people. I think that was his best moments. Like you pointed out, I'm not going to be the president of the blue states or the red states. I'm going to be the president of the United States, and that actually reminded me quite a bit of some stuff I heard from George Bush, Barack Obama, and other previous presidents. So that was very, very poignant and presidential to me that he said something like that. And it's also very stark contrast to things I've heard Trump say. Trump hasn't blatantly said it, but if you don't vote for Trump, basically Trump's like, fuck you, kind of. He's not trying to win you over. He's trying to keep his base, in my opinion. He's not trying to win anybody over. With that being said, I think that Joe won the debate, but Trump had way more key impressive moments than what I expected him to have. And I think Joe is lucky that there isn't going to be another debate. Manic Hispanic?
Yes.
Who did you think won it?
Well, I did not watch the entire thing. What I did get to see, I thought it was a bit funny when Joe Biden dropped his own name.
He did.
You're running against Joe Biden.
You're running against Joe Biden. I'm like Joe, bro. We know who you are, bro.
But it was pretty much the same thing. They're saying the same things that they've always been saying.
Yeah, and I mean, not much substance at all.
No, there wasn't. That was Trump falling back on, look what I've already done. And that was Biden saying we can do better, but not saying how we're going to do better.
I would agree with that. I
really don't feel that anybody won that.
Okay. Sean?
The best thing that may have come out of it is the trap that we had talked about.
Okay. Sean?
Hold on.
Oh, he said hold on. Okay. Well, I mean, I do agree. There was really not a lot of substance to that. Sean, just come in whenever you can with your winner. But, oh my God, there he is. There's the pretty boy. But
did you get a haircut?
Oh, he did get a haircut, it looks like.
Shut up.
But with that being said, Sean, I don't know if you can hear me yet. Okay, you're putting headphones on. Who do you think won the debate? And I guess, Manic Hispanic made a good point. What did you think was the key moment in this third and final debate?
I mean, I wanted my guy to win, but I think it was about 50-50,
Really?
I think Trump got some good zingers in there that people aren't going to forget, and I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I don't like that happened. I think that Joe held his own this time, but that one gaffe, that one thing that he said about oil, people, like yourself, like you guys are pointing that out, that he, royally screwed the pooch. And if he did, then, and it cost him the election, then I guess that's the case. We'll have to wait and see.
I'll ask you this question, Sean, while you're saying that he got the zingers in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that just totally left my mind. I forgot where I was for that. Wow.
What did you think was the key moment in the debate, Sean?
To me, the key moment was when he stopped Donald Trump and he said that I won't be just the president of red or blue states. I'll be the president of the United States. And I think that's what people need to hear more than anything, is that we need to be united. No more divisiveness. I mean, I know I'm fucking sick to death of all the divisiveness. So, that I applauded at that point. I was just like, yes, keep hitting home with that. Do it.
And he didn't. It was the one moment, and then he moved. Continue.
Right.
Manic Hispanic?
Yes, my point came back. You were saying Joe Biden held his own, but do you think he was holding his own because of the mute on the microphone?
Ooh, good point. We didn't talk about the mute.
So then it's
They did mute. They did mute.
So then the question is, did he really hold his own, or did he have help holding it?
I don't think he had help holding it. I think that
I think it was more evened out finally. I think without Trump constantly butting in.
Was that because of the mute?
Well, yeah, I would say so.
I mean, because like I said, I don't feel that there was a clear-cut winner because they're just saying the same thing that they've been saying for the past
Which, I mean, I would agree. There was not a lot of substance. You got to agree with that, Sean. There was no... He keeps talking about this healthcare plan.
Man, like this whole damn campaign ain't been a lot of substance.
You're right about that. Neither of them. I mean, the only really thought that he has said that he has a plan for is he said he will not reinstitute Obamacare. He said that he will take the bones of Obamacare, and basically, if you don't have health care, he's going to give you the option for health care. He's not going to mandate it. And then immigration, he said that he supports a pathway to citizenship. Those are really the only substantive things that were said the whole night.
This whole campaign has been Joe Biden saying, vote for me, I'm not Donald Trump. And Donald Trump saying, vote for me, I'm not Biden. Like,
yeah.
Very true.
There's not been any, like, progressiveness on the side. Maybe the right is becoming more right. There's really been no moving of any needles. Everything not Trump. Like, that's it.
I mean, you're not going to have any rage against the machine moments during this election. That's just not going to happen.
I'm fucking for it though.
Right, and that's the thing. You know, true leftists, progressives in this country are waiting for that rage against the machine moment. That's what we want. We want substantial change in this nation for everyone, not just the elect few. And that's what is so fucking depressing about, you know, the last 20 fucking elections is that we've just been building this oligarchy and we're just destroying the republic. And pretty soon we're not going to have a republic anymore because, you know, what Ben Franklin told that woman, I have just given you a republic, don't lose it. We're losing it. It's ridiculous.
Okay. Well, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're at the hour mark. We'll be right back after this with more American Idiots.
Each and every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, join Money Mike, Tropic Thunder, Fox, the Manic Hispanic, and of course the pretty boy Sean for the American Idiots podcast, a look at the most divisive headlines in our country, and we present all sides of the argument. It's the American Idiots podcast live on Facebook and YouTube at the American Idiots podcast pages and on Talk Radio 49. Each and every Tuesday night, join Michael Carnahan and Lisa O'Brien at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time for the Clear and Convincing podcast, where they look at the most important cases in our country's history, not from the court of public opinion, but from the court's perspective. It's the Clear and Convincing podcast right here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, along with Talk Radio 49. Each and every Sunday, join Duck, Michael Carnahan, and the pretty boy Sean Castleberry as they give you your weekly wrap-up in all things entertainment and conspiracy. It's the Shenanigans Podcast right here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Talk Radio 49. It's now time for the American Idiot Show with Tropic Thunder, the Pretty Boy, the Manic Hispanic, Fox, and Money Mike, where we look at the most divisive headlines in the country and we present both sides of the argument. It's the American Idiots, and it begins right now.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Final home stretch of election night, or of election 2020. 8 days to go. We have about roughly an hour and a half left in the show, an hour and 18 minutes left in the show. And we're going to get into a little bit of our opinions section. My question is Joe Biden coasting into election day? And I heard this today and I didn't really believe it, but when I heard the sides presented, it was actually quite interesting. But we have a story on the election with 8 days left from WHAS 11 on YouTube.
Nearly 60 million Americans have cast their ballots early, already exceeding the total for all of early voting in 2016, with still 8 days to go until Election Day.
I have family members that never cared about politics. In their entire lives, they are voting.
In one of the most contentious elections in U.S. history, both candidates giving it their all in the home stretch.
Thank you, Ohio. Go out and vote. Pennsylvania matters. So please vote.
The president hitting battleground states, continuing to downplay the severity of the coronavirus pandemic, though daily case numbers are hitting record highs, according to the COVID Tracking Project.
We're rounding the turn. We're doing great. Our numbers are incredible.
Still defending his mostly maskless rallies in a heated interview on 60 Minutes.
I tell people to wear
But you
masks.
don't.
Leslie, we hand out thousands of masks.
But you
at
look
every
out and they're
rally.
not wearing them. You don't get up there and say, look, come on.
Go
I
ahead.
don't want
What's
you to
What's
get
your next
sick.
question, Leslie?
He then abruptly ended the interview.
I think we have enough of an interview here, Hope. Okay, that's enough. Let's go.
Meantime, Biden, who's up in the polls, was in the key state of Pennsylvania over the weekend.
It may come down to Pennsylvania. And I believe in you. I believe in my state.
Trump is planning to visit nearly a dozen states in this last week ahead of Election Day. Joe Biden also ramping up his campaigning with plans to visit 6 key battleground states in the coming days. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
So in that, and she really hit my question in the last, few sentences of her story there. We're talking about Joe cutting down about half of what Trump is going to do over the next 8 days before election night. Do you think that this is Joe Biden trying to, do the right thing and limit COVID exposure? Do you think this is Joe thinking, hey, I'm up in the polls, I'm going to take it easy over these next 8 days? Usually you see multiple rallies in one day. You see, 2, 3, and 4 rallies, which is what we're getting from Trump. But Joe, Joe's kind of taking it easy this next week. Do you think Joe is coasting into Election Day? And we'll start with you, Manic Hispanic.
this is not the move of somebody trying to win. Bottom line, and maybe he's disheartened because even if you hear just those small clips that they were playing, when Trump said something, you would hear the massive cheer behind him.
Mm-hmm.
When Biden said something, it was almost critical.
Is that the difference in the amount of people there, though?
That could be. I mean, like I said, they actually showed the crowd of people that's at the Trump rally
Right.
versus the multiple cars that are at the Biden rally. Well,
Right.
the car is going to take up more room, but there's not near as many people.
Okay. Okay. Sean, what do you think? Do you think this is, I've always been told you go out there and you got to win it. You can't leave it in the judge's hands, so to speak. You've got to convincingly win it to take the title. Do you think Joe is coasting, and could it cost him?
I mean, it's just like with an NFL game, you got to come to play. You got to play to win. If you're not there, what's the fucking point?
Right. Do you agree with the strategy though? Fewer rallies coming out.
I mean, Trump's going to do what he's going to do anyway. He's going to have these packed houses with all these people. He has no regard for human welfare. So it's just a shit show for him. He doesn't care. He's just trying to get as many people in front of the cameras as possible to show, look how good I am. Whereas Joe Biden is trying to do the opposite and not have as many people around because he has the safety concern. And I get what he's doing, but it may not work.
I would agree with that statement, but the sheer amount, even if you're limiting the amount of people in there, you could still be holding 2, 3, 4 rallies a day in different cities like we see. I mean, that's the precedent heading into Election Day. You maximize your time. And it seems like Joe's kind of like, hey, one a day. We'll see what happens.
Right.
We've never seen somebody really implement that strategy. Maybe it'll work. Fox, what do you think about that? Do you think that Joe's kind of coasting in, thinking he has this thing won?
I don't know if it is that I think that he's relying too heavily on the fact that a lot of young people are talking a lot on social media about how important the election is, but that doesn't, as we've seen in past elections, that doesn't necessarily translate into votes.
Right.
So I don't know if he's just relying too heavily on everyone knows Trump is a fascist asshole, like they know, or if it's some sort of ploy like I think it was in the 2016 election where they picked the guy they knew would not win so that he would not win.
Right.
So I don't know what I think as far as those two ideas are concerned.
Yeah.
He's going to win, so.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, hopefully by this time next Tuesday, we'll be talking about, the reason why somebody lost. And one of the big ones that, Sean, I brought up to you earlier today, that, I want to compare and contrast elections here a little bit tonight. Do you think that in 8 days we're going to be saying that, if Joe Biden loses, he waited too long to use President Obama? And we have a story from President Obama here on ABC News, so we'll be right back.
Yeah.
With less than 2 weeks until the election, President Trump on a swing state blitz. In Erie, Pennsylvania last night, he claimed if elected, Joe Biden will shut down the country and postpone vaccines.
This is an election between the Trump super recovery, which is happening right now, and a Biden depression. We're rounding the turn on the pandemic. It's ending. Normal life, that's all we want.
Trump also telling the crowd he wouldn't have had to campaign in Erie if it weren't for the pandemic.
4 or 5 months ago when we started this whole thing, because, before the plague came in, I had it made. I wasn't coming to Erie. I mean, I have to be honest. There's no way I was coming.
The event was scheduled to be First Lady Melania Trump's first campaign rally in months, but she canceled due to a lingering cough following her COVID diagnosis. In a town hall before the rally, President Trump was asked if he would have done anything differently in his response to the pandemic.
Not much. Look, it's all over the world. You have a lot of great leaders. There are a lot of smart people. It's all over the world. It came out of China. China should have stopped it.
And now new details were emerging about the president's interview with 60 Minutes, which was cut short Tuesday. The president claiming the interview was fake and biased, and he threatened to release a White House account of the interview before it airs on Sunday. Trump also posted a 6-second video clip of Leslie Stahl, writing, "Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes not wearing a mask in the White House after her interview with me. Much more to come." We're told Stahl wore a mask up until the start of her taping, and the video tweeted by the president was taken immediately after the interview ended.
I'll have you guys stand right inside the door.
It all comes as early voting shatters more records. 35 million Americans have now cast a ballot. At this time in 2016, that number was just 5.6 million. In Harris County, Texas, early voting is on track to beat the total turnout in 2016. As for Joe Biden, he's off the trail, preparing for tomorrow's debate where a new rule will mute the candidates' microphones during their initial answers to questions. Biden calls the change a
Okay, we're pretty much caught up with the Obama part of it, but and we're going to talk about 60 Minutes right after this. But with that being said, I think this was a mistake. This was the thing that cost Gore the election versus Bush in 2000, in my opinion. Of course, Sean would say the Supreme Court. Fuck you, Sean. Anyway, no, but I mean, this is. Once again, I say this about Trump all the time, but Biden, do you not learn lessons?
No.
I mean, why in the hell? Like, I can see why McCain didn't use Bush, but why in the hell was Barack Obama not out there from the day he clinched the nomination? Freaking Barack's wife was out there before him. She's popular too, I agree, but there is nothing that can replace a former president. I'm honestly surprised they haven't used George W. Bush as he's endorsed Joe Biden. Like, what are you doing, Joe? Or why are you not? Do you think it may be COVID? Like, what do you think the strategy here is for not using Obama until what, about 3 weeks out? Sean, sorry, I guess I didn't call on anybody.
Well, I would have brought out all the heavy hitters, and that's me, and that would have included George Bush, Barbara Bush. That would included
Laura. You mean
Laura
Barbara's
Bush.
His mama?
I would have had Barbara out there too.
He's like,
Barbara's dead.
Mama and the wife.
Oh,
Barbara's dead.
Well,
That
then,
sucks.
you know what? Pull out the Ouija board. I would have Barbara there too. I would bring George Walker. I'd bring him back. I would have
Not the Ouija board.
I would have Clinton, both Bill and Hillary.
I would have stayed away from Hillary.
I would have had Gore. I would have had anybody who has had any prominence in the last 20 years that does not want Trump to be the president to come forward and have some kind of PA message, for the nation. And they could have done this. They could have done this for all the football games, all the commercials you've been seeing. It just could have been a PSA for all of these former leaders in this country. You could have had, all the military leaders that have come out and spoken against Trump. Just a 30-minute segue leading up to Obama. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But no, it's so frustrating because when you look at the Republican Party, they have a clear vision of what they want. Okay?
Right.
They want to turn back the clock and go back to the wholesomeness of the 50s. Okay. That's what they want. That's what they claim. They want that. That's when America was great. They want to go back to that. The Democrats on the other, side of that, they don't have a clear vision. Everyone is infighting with each other, and it's usually over identity politics, and it's bullshit. We have to have a clear vision, or else we're not going to re-win the White House ever. At this point, we're so splintered. I don't see that.
You make a good point. I haven't thought about this, but short of Kamala Harris, who has really been on the campaign trail besides Barack Obama these few appearances?
No one.
AOC hasn't been out there. Nancy hasn't been out there. Like, you're right. The Republicans really do kind of have this surrogate situation
Now, to be
a
fair,
lot better down than the Democrats.
To be fair, AOC was playing Among Us the other night on the internet, so that was pretty awesome. I did enjoy watching that.
That's kind of badass.
Yeah, she should have been on there, like, vote Biden. Oh God, they're gonna kill me. Vote Biden.
So, like, that's
vote Biden.
what I used to do. Is really people get on YouTube, participate. Games. Well, I mean, this for a while, but really, really young people doing something, and
I don't know if it's my end. I think Sean's. Yeah, I was about to say, you're breaking up really bad. I apologize, Fox. We'll come back to you in just a second. Yeah, you were breaking up pretty rough. Manic Hispanic, I mean, even Bernie, like, I think Bernie appeared at the DNC, but nothing since. Like, do you think this is something that we could be talking 8 days from tonight as what could potentially cost Obama the election? Manic Hispanic.
No, I don't think it's something that'll potentially cost him the election. Is it a mistake? Yes, I think it is a mistake. But I don't know that it's a mistake on Biden. It's a mistake on his handlers, the people running his campaign.
Good point.
The one that makes all the decisions on it.
Right.
People give him ideas, and he runs with the things that he thinks will work. I really think that people have failed to bring this up to him that, hey, we ought to do this. We ought to use this person. We, like you were saying, put commercials on during football season.
Mm-hmm.
I really blame the handlers of the deal, not Joe Biden himself.
That's a good point. A lot of this isn't Joe. Joe's kind of shoved out in front of the people to make the speeches to get him elected, but the planning is behind the scenes. So that's a good point, Manic Hispanic.
And then again, that makes you wonder about him being able to lead. I mean, since he's not getting this in his head, hey, we should.
That's a good point.
But we don't care.
Trump is,
we don't care
pushing
if he
his way
not,
through whatever he
he's probably
wants.
going to die, and Kamala will be the president.
Right.
Fox doesn't look happy by this. Fox, it looks like you're good, though. I can see you moving in real time, so you may be able to talk now.
Veto.
You're good. You're good. But do you want to say what you were saying, or do you want me to?
Trying to get him elected so that they can do the switch for Kamala.
That's interesting, and we talked about this last week. The 27th Amendment, a lot of people still believe that that's Nancy's play to get in the vice presidency. Something to watch. Hey, if you don't think Nancy's just as power hungry as the rest of them in the Congress right now.
I think Nancy is pretty power hungry, but I don't think that the Democratic Party is united enough to do such a thing. That's just not going to happen. That's never going to happen.
And I would agree to that. They can't even agree on how to try to proceed with this Amy Coney Barrett confirmation. They couldn't decide how they wanted to stonewall it. So, I mean, you're right about that. Yeah. I don't know, Fox. I think you're back in real time, but I'll go ahead and say what you were going to say. You said that you're really just saying, that's the crap that Obama did. And it's true. Connecting with the younger... why did that stop in 2012? Why was Hillary not using YouTube as much as Obama did? Why is Biden not using this? Biden was his fucking vice president, and Biden shouldn't have... I agree. Well, I mean, Barack was no spring chicken. Barack was, 40s or 50s? So it's not...
Next, man.
She's also like, I feel like Hillary didn't think she had to work as hard.
True.
Because she was already in the White House as the first lady, and she really wrote on that.
Yeah, she really did.
And
But
as a black man, Obama had a whole lot more that he had to overcome, and a whole lot more work he had to do, and many more barriers that he had to break down.
this may go into, I don't know whether Sean just dropped or whether he stopped his camera, but this may go into the handler thing that Manic Hispanic brought up there a second ago. But why did Barack Obama not hand Joe Biden the fucking playbook? Like, honestly, here, Joe, fucking use YouTube. Here, Joe, use Facebook. Here, Joe, use Twitter. Like, I'm not blaming Obama for that. I feel like Joe probably didn't ask for it. Manic Hispanic?
Especially when Joe really got noticed through these memes of being the vice president.
Oh my God, you're so right.
I mean, he already had a following just based on those memes. All he had to do was really take a hold of that, and this would have been a totally different election.
I'll be honest, Joe didn't make any difference to me or any impression to me until those memes started coming out. And then I was like, oh, that's cute. No, and Joe did not capitalize on that. Like, these are questions that if he loses next Tuesday, I'm going to be asking, like, what the fuck, Joe? Why didn't you do these things? And, I mean, Sean, it looks like you don't have an answer.
Well, I mean, no, I do have an answer. He's a fucking boomer. He's old. They don't understand technology. I mean, they are the walking...
He could have a handler do something.
They are the Walking Dead, okay? We're waiting.
They are the Walking Dead.
We are waiting for them to fucking die so that we can take over, okay? It's not going to be very long. It's going to happen pretty soon. The boomers will be gone, and then Generation X can fuck everything up. And it'll be a dictatorship.
A dictatorship? But no, once again though, I like this isn't just a Biden problem. Like Manic Hispanic alluded to, this is why isn't somebody in Biden's ear going, "Hey Joe, I'm gonna need you to like get on this streaming service and fucking talk with people or something. Like host a virtual town hall, Joe. Use Skype."
Why are we putting?
Sean, you're kind of breaking up now.
For elections.
This is true too.
I said,
but this is the two-party system at work, sir.
Well, we need to like rebuild this shit. It's a shit show.
Every
fucking 4 years, we have to vote for the lesser of two evils.
You're right.
Everyone's opinion. It's bullshit.
There's 30 fucking candidates on that ballot, by the way. I'm just saying. There's like 30 fucking candidates on that ballot.
I only saw like 12 online, so.
There's still more than two.
There's like 12.
There's still more than two.
Yep.
But with that being said,
go Kanye.
You know, somebody. Oh shit! I didn't even look for Kanye when I voted.
He was on there. He for fucking real was on there.
I cannot believe that. Anyway, with that being said, though, somebody, and I forget who said it, so if it was somebody on this show, I apologize, but they said the best thing that can come out of this election is that the third party can have the best showing that they've ever had. And that would make me extremely happy. That would make me happy with any way election night plays out, is if the third party had a extremely good showing that night to show that there is a viability to vote third party. Because, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I took a lot of heat for voting Libertarian in the last election. A lot of people, Republicans, man, if we would have lost, it would have been your fault. Democrats, she lost because it's your fault. Like, I live in Arkansas. My electoral votes were going to Donald Trump anyway. Let's be honest here. In the grand scheme of things. Okay. So, Sean, I think we're going to disagree on this next topic, but it's going to be fun. The 60 Minutes interview, and we have the highlights right here from Daily Nation as they put it together on YouTube.
Let me ask you about Obamacare, which you say you're going to repeal and replace. When you replace it, Are you going to make sure that people with preconditions are still covered?
Yes, because it happens to be one of the strongest assets.
You're going to keep that?
Also, with the children living with their parents for an extended period, you're going to
keep
very
that?
much try and keep that. Adds cost, but it's very much something we're going to try and keep.
And there's going to be a period, if you repeal it and before you replace it, when millions of people could lose.
We're going to do it simultaneously. It'll be just fine. That's what I do. I do a good job. I know how to do this stuff. We're going to repeal it and replace it. And we're not going to have like a 2-day period, and we're not going to have a 2-year period where there's nothing. It will be repealed and replaced, and we'll know. And it'll be great health care for much less money.
Mr. Trump also spoke about the phone call that essentially ended the election.
Hillary called you. Tell us about that phone call.
So Hillary called, and it was a lovely call, and it was a tough call for her. I mean, I can imagine. Tougher for her than it would have been for me, and for me it would have been very, very difficult. She couldn't have been nicer. She just said, "Congratulations, Donald. Well done." And I said, "I want to thank you very much. You were a great competitor." She's very strong and very smart.
What about Bill Clinton? Did you talk to him?
He did. He called the next day.
Really? What did he say?
Actually called last night.
What did he say?
He couldn't have been more gracious. He said it was an amazing run, one of the most amazing he's ever seen.
Said that.
He was very, very, really very nice.
You said that you might call President Obama for advice. Would you think of calling President Clinton for advice?
Well, he's a very talented guy, both of them. I mean, this is a very talented family. Certainly, I would certainly think about that.
God damn it, leave it to Michael to grab the wrong interview. I think that was right after that motherfucker won the election. God damn it. Anyway, with that being said, because I'm hoping everybody's seen the 60 Minutes interview, I've seen the highlights. Manic Hispanic, by the way, your spaghetti looks fucking amazing. I'm just going to say this. A lot of people are making a big deal that the man walked off. I have a problem when you start an interview and you set a tone by saying, "Are you ready for some tough questions?" I have a problem when you set that tone and I think he had a good point. I hate to say it, but I think he had a damn good point. A lot of people have been handling Joe with kid gloves. And a lot of people have been tougher on Trump. I would like to see that equalized out. But the people that are, and Fox, I think you disagree with me. I saw you shaking your head. The people that are complaining that he walked off, number one, I'm sorry. I don't respect the man necessarily, but he is the fucking president of the United States. And when you set a precedence of basically reading between the lines, "Hey, I'm coming for you, motherfucker," that's going to set a negative tone for the whole interview, and I don't blame him. I'll start with you, Fox.
Oh gosh, I can.
I apologize.
The problem that I have with that is that the whole idea of the presidency is that you're supposed to be held accountable to the people. Like, it's supposed to be that the people hold the power in this country. Now, we all know that that's bullshit and it's fake, but that's supposed to be how it is. So the whole like dick show of walking out on an interview, to me, like, I don't give a fuck who the fuck you are. I pay your bills. I'm your boss. I'm supposed to be your boss. You're not my boss. And so like this whole air of like, he's the president of the United States. I don't give a fuck if he's the president of the United States. All of the shit that he has done, the way that he has emboldened white supremacy in this nation during these last 4 years. Like, no, yes, be hard as shit on him, because there's shit to be hard on with him. And the difference that I see in regards to Joe Biden is we have You keep laughing. Why are you laughing?
You said hard on. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We're immature. We're immature over here.
Oh my God. This is what happens when it's just me. Where's Polly?
Sorry.
So the difference with Joe Biden, and I'm not going to say that we shouldn't be critical of Joe Biden because absolutely, I think even Sean will be like, yeah, fuck that guy. Like, yes, be critical of that guy. However, Trump's in the hot seat. We have a 4-year picture of what the next 4 years could look like plus some. Like, we already kind of know because we have literally just lived it.
Yeah.
And while, yes, we could be like, oh, well, he was the vice president during Obama's administration. Like, we all know that that's bullshit. That, no, that's not how that works. So, he's going to be in the hot seat. He's going to be the one that people shit on because he's the one causing the shit.
But what I want to see is you be just as tough on Joe as you are on Donald. I don't mind the toughness. I want to see an equal toughness though across the board.
I guess I just don't see. I don't see how can you be tough on someone who hasn't had those 4? Like, how can you have the same level of criticism when you don't have the it's kind of like comparing
you don't have the
it's
evidence.
like an assistant comparing an assistant, like trying to jump the ass of an assistant manager versus jumping the ass of the CEO. Like, I mean, I guess you could, but the things that you're going to talk about are not going to be the same things, and you obviously, no matter what, are going to have way higher expectations for that CEO than you are the assistant manager. I guess that's how that works.
No, you can take Donald Trump's 4 years in office, right? He's been a politician for 4 years, and you can compare that to the 47 years that Joe Biden has been in political office.
Hold up, you're starting to sound like Donald, Sean.
What?
You're starting to sound like Donald, Sean.
No, but I'm just saying you can compare the two, and then you hit Biden with those hard questions like, "Hey, you said some racist shit back here. Can we have an apology?"
Yeah.
Even though you ran with the first African-American president, can we get an I'm sorry? When you helped pass this bill, can we get an apology? When you talked about segregation, they should hit him with those hard things. And
I agree. As much as you hit Trump with, can you condemn white supremacy, you need to be hitting Joe with, why did you do this?
And then Biden can go around on an apology tour, if you want to call it that, and be like, hey, you know what? Back in the day, I did say things that were right. I do apologize for that. But that was 40 years ago, and I have changed a lot since then, as you can see. And that would have helped him so much.
Right. I agree.
But they don't want to do that. They want to give him kid gloves, They want to baby him, and because he's our guy. Yeah, I do get that. Yeah, it is biased, and it shouldn't be.
Do you have any problem with Trump walking out on the interview, Sean?
Yeah, I think he's a little bitch for doing that. But I don't like the guy, so that's why I'll say that. I mean, if he's such a tough guy and such a fucking alpha male, like he pretends to be all the fucking time, he can handle any goddamn thing that comes at him.
Like,
right?
My thing is, like, as president, you're supposed to. You're a public servant.
You're starting to break up a little bit again.
Well, I mean, I'm just going by his whole alpha male persona, that he's the best, he's the toughest, he can handle anything, but he can't handle some woman sitting across from him, pissing him off. Well, show me that you're the fucking alpha male. Show me that you can hold your own against a woman that you don't respect.
And Fox, Fox is just pointing out again, you're a public servant as president of the United States, and that's a good point. I'm just saying, me as a common citizen, that's why in the private sector, that's the word I'm looking for, a private sector citizen, I would be aggravated if somebody came at me like that. Do I necessarily agree that you should come with the president like that? No. I've said this in Obama. I said this with Trump. I said this with anybody that I disagree with. I don't respect Trump. I think Trump, as a human being, is a piece of shit. He is still the president, though. So, being the president of the United States, I respect the title more than the human being, I guess I should say.
See, and I just don't. my thing is that I guess I just don't respect the office.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
well,
And I can understand your point of view too.
Mike and I have a different perspective though, because we serve in the military, and that's something ingrained into us. You respect the rank. You don't have to respect the man.
Right.
So that's the thing. When people are like, well, that's your president. Well, he may be the president. He's not my president. I don't care for that son of a bitch. But he is the leader of the free world.
Hey,
It
baby,
sucks.
you're a veteran. How do you feel about respecting the title?
They're all in it for power. They don't get
Yeah, he's not wrong though. He's not wrong. They are all in it for power.
I'm just challenging the idea that, oh, well, if you're in the military, you have a better understanding of what it means. No, that's bullshit. No, you don't.
I'm not saying
Because
it's a better. I'm not
I
saying
never
it's a better
served, but I mean, I
understanding.
am from a military family, and the whole like respecting authority was something that was very deeply ingrained in me. And
It's not about respect.
fundamentally
It's not
disagree with it.
necessarily
It's not
about respect.
respecting authority. Okay.
Yeah.
It's about the rank. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
Hey, baby,
doesn't
how do
have
you feel
anything
about
to-
respecting the rank as a veteran? What you think?
The chain of command.
And the chain of command. What you think? Come on.
I think that hierarchy, in general, is a way to wield the threat of some form of violence against those subordinate to you in order to...
I'm just like, my whole point is just that, like, I guess I just don't appreciate being like silenced over, well, you just can't possibly understand because we
I'm
served
not
in the
trying to say
military.
that
Like,
I'm not
obviously, like, being a veteran doesn't make it like
It's not that we were. It's not that we're trying to silence you by any stretch of the imagination. I think we're saying that we're coming at it from opposing views. And I can completely
vote with you, and he opposes your view. So
But his experience is different than ours.
true.
Like
And
every
with that being
veteran,
said, I can respect what you're saying, but that's how I feel, and that's I guess how Sean feels as well.
They ingrained that into you when you're in the military, that you respect the rank, not the man. That's what you're taught.
right, I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is that that shouldn't be a basis for whether or not like our point, the points that we're making. That shouldn't be a basis for it because my husband went through that exact same experience. He served in the military.
Well,
and
once
has a
again,
completely different point of view. So
every experience is going to be different. I could go talk to anybody I went through basic training with, and they could have had a completely different experience than I did. It's all upon the individual person, in my opinion. With that,
then that says to me that the act of being a veteran doesn't even matter because we're all humans and have different experiences. Period. Like point blank. It's about how it like either the facts of how it is, or there needs to be some sort of basis other than I was in the military. Because I just don't vibe with that being a good enough reason to be like, I respect
that.
Well, you could play on that with the whole pro-choice and pro-life point of view, that men don't have a fucking right to say anything at all because it doesn't concern them, right?
I would agree.
You would have to explain.
I was about to say, I think you're preaching to the choir on this one, but we're getting off topic, y'all. Manic Hispanic, what did you think about
to that, including he's trying to keep his wife happy.
What? I'm oh, you're back in the back on the. I'm like, wait, what?
Keeping me happy. Yeah. First of all, my husband radicalized way before I did, so that ain't got shit to do with anything. He got radical before I got radical. The military actually radicalized him, so.
Manic Hispanic, what did you think of the 60 Minutes interview? Do you agree that they're handling Biden with kid gloves and Trump with a little bit more barbish? Do you agree that that's fair?
I'll be right
et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, they've been doing that the entire election, though. While I agree, there is a title there. When it comes to campaigning and trying to get your points across, I don't care if you've been president for 4 years already, or you were vice president, or you were a newcomer to the ranks. you should be hit hard with questions about who you were, who you're going to be, and what your plan is for this country. It ought to be hard all the way around.
Oh, so you're actually not, you don't think that 60 Minutes was too tough on the president?
I don't think they were too tough on the president.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've been very lenient on Biden.
I would agree.
And as far as the question, because I didn't get to see the 60 Minutes deal, I don't know at what point he decided that was enough.
I think it was a while in, and eventually, like, he wasn't rude about it. He just said, somebody said, "Hey, Mr. President, we got to see you in here," and she was like, "Well, I've got something to do real quick. Let me finish this up." And he said, "I think we have enough here," and he got up and walked off. That's how it went down.
So it wasn't like he was trying to dodge a question by saying we're done here.
He wasn't like, "I don't like y'all," or anything like that. He just said, "I think we have enough here," and got up and walked off. He said that, and previous to him walking off, he had been telling her, "I don't think you're being fair with me. You guys are being very lenient with Joe." And she's like, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not." Like, she was head in the sand. You could tell she was very... I hate to say any member of the media is biased, but you could tell that she had a bias against Trump.
And I also wonder if this leniency that's being given to Joe is and this is just because, I'm like deep, thick into the activist community. It's very, I mean, most leftists will agree that the two-party system is bullshit and they're all fascist, elitist, capitalist fucks, da-da-da-da.
I don't think you need to be an activist to think that.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's very commonly known. But now, especially with all the civil unrest this summer, those ideas are being brought more and more and more to the forefront. And I wonder if this is kind of a way to paint the picture that this guy's a fascist, but this guy's not.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
Rather than critically analyzing the fact that, no, they're both fashy fucks, and trying to kind of create this narrative that there's the good guy and the bad guy rather than accepting the fact that they're bad guys. Because regardless of what side of the pole you're on, neither one of those sides want revolution. Like, obviously,
I agree.
Like, they want to stay in power regardless of how they disagree on keeping that power. They want to stay in power. And so I wonder if that is also at play here, and just like the maintaining power part of it, so that there's not as much civil unrest.
I completely agree with you. I've talked to Sean. Me and Sean, I know, have had conversations where it's completely blatant. The major news networks that are in the 24-hour news cycle, you can look at them and name them off and name their affiliation with which party they are. CNN is Democratic. MSNBC is Democratic. Fox News is very conservative. Am I missing anything? Am I missing anybody? As far as the 24-hour news cycles, I don't think I am.
But it's very clear that...
But yes, the media has a bias.
News reporters anymore. They are opinion reporters.
I would agree with that. We have nobody going in there without a preconceived notion any longer. Right. And I would completely agree that both sides... You cannot go in. I'm sure Fox News is the only people that are sitting there just completely 100% anti-fuck Biden, and that is ridiculous. You should not be able to report. You shouldn't even be able to be a White House correspondent if you show any sort of bias in your career. If you made an anti-Trump news story, you should be automatically disqualified from being a White House correspondent. Oh my God. Oh my God, y'all are killing me. But I would like to see something like that. I don't know if that'll ever happen though. Sean, do you think that'll ever happen where we'll get back to independent journalism, so to speak?
As long as capitalism is alive, no.
Good point. Fox, do you think, though, that it's possible to do independent journalism? Or do you think that these media outlets are so ingrained with their bias, so to speak, that, CNN is always going to support Joe Biden and Fox News is always going to support Donald Trump?
I think with the major news outlets, no. However, there's plenty of independent journalism out there. It exists.
True.
It's just not getting bankrolled by corporations.
Right.
Good point.
There is independent journalism. We see it right now with all the protests happening. Like, let me ask you, do you know what day it is on the protests in Portland? When's the last time the major media outlets even talked about Portland?
I was about to say, is Portland still, do they still have control of that area of Portland?
Oh, yeah, they're on day like 150 something.
See,
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
Exactly. There are independent journalists, especially if you are part of those smaller communities, you know where to look. Like woke.net has been reporting every single night on all of the civil unrest happening in the country. And protests are going on. It's almost 160 days now.
Well, and that's actually interesting you bring that up, because that kind of goes back to the two-party situation. You ask, I've always asked you guys, whenever you guys bring me a story, okay, where's the accredited, verified news source that you guys are getting this from? Maybe that's something we need to stop asking. And maybe we do need to stop asking. If it doesn't come from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, et cetera, maybe we do need to believe it.
Well, we gotta be careful about that though, because you have your Breitbarts, you have your InfoWars, you have your QAnon. You can't listen to everything. What you need to do is look at any story and investigate it on your own, and then find sources that collaborate that story. That's what investigating the truth is all about. Unfortunately, we live in a society where people don't care about the truth because it scares them. Nobody wants the truth.
I don't know that it's that they don't care about the truth because it scares them as much as I've got responsibilities, man. I can't spend time on the computer trying to track down stories because I've got a job I've got to attend to make sure that my mortgage payment gets paid, my lights stay on, my water stays on. So a lot of that comes down to we're believing that the mainstream media is going to give us the truth.
Very true.
I don't think that all the time.
Well, and though we hit the nail on the head also earlier.
I can't take the time to do it.
We hit the nail on the head a lot earlier, though, when we said, where does a lot of Americans, the average everyday American, get their news from nowadays? Facebook.
Facts, though. And
nobody does any verification of it.
And
You're right.
Thing, depending on who your friends are and what they share, you're only going to get one side. Right. Because we all build these echo chambers. Well, you know what? Yep. I have done my best to try to keep conservative friends on my friends list because I do want to see what other people say. And
but a lot of that stuff gets taken down by Facebook. That's why they were talking about wanting to bring the people from Twitter and Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook in to question why they were suppressing negative ads on Biden.
It's actually interesting, though. I have not seen any actual evidence that they are specifically targeting that.
I haven't either, and
but I would be interested.
There's actually overwhelming evidence that Mark Zuckerberg supports Trump.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
the guy is rich.
Well,
true.
Even aside from him, so. I don't talk a lot about my personal life because of anonymity, but I will say that my muggle job is that I do social media management. So I know a lot about like the Facebook algorithm and like how that influences ads and campaigns and money and ABCDXYZ. The algorithm is literally designed to suppress photos and videos of civil unrest. It is designed with specific buzzwords that can get your posts taken down, which 9 times out of 10, those things like people come up with inventive ways to say the word white because saying anything negative about white people can get your posts taken down. Meanwhile, you've got people using the N-word that don't get their posts taken down.
Right.
Like there's literally entire communities with lists of how to talk about.
That's really interesting.
To talk about social justice issues that are spelled like. Did you know that like to say white people is WYPIPO? so that the algorithm does not snatch it up. Like,
or you can just do WI''TE, and
Yep.
that will get by. Because that's
Yep.
what I have to do, because I was banned
Yep.
for a few days for actually saying, white people do bad things. I got banned for like 3 days for that.
Yep.
Men can threaten to rape, murder, destroy women every fucking day
Yep.
on Twitter, on Facebook, on any social media post. But if a woman speaks out against a man in any way at all, she will get a 3-day ban every single
I'll be
fucking
damned.
time.
That's interesting.
That's a fucking
for real.
That's interesting. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's actually really interesting. But damn, you just kind of blew my mind. Hold up, I gotta process this for a second. Damn.
There is an entire social justice lingo
Yes.
for Facebook and Instagram because of this. Yep.
Yes.
That's
You have
crazy.
to be careful of what you say. If you're on the wrong side, they will shut you down. And it's not the conservative side. It is mainly the leftist side that they're trying to shut and erase what they say.
Well, and I would argue that. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I would argue that a lot of the conservative posts that I have seen that are getting snatched by the fact checking and stuff on Facebook, a lot of them have turned out to be bullshit. So I don't mind Facebook going in there and being like, "Yo, this is a load of horse shit," you know.
Say that the vast majority of the time that right wings / whatever call it stuff gets taken, it's because communities have them and so a strategy that online activists use is get hundreds of people to go and report a post, report a group, and regardless of whether it's even against the of Facebook, the fact that amounts of reporting it immediately get down because of the algorithm. So when you see conservatism targeted like this, activists have come together. When you see social justice is being taken down, it's because the algorithm is specifically to do.
Huh. That's interesting.
In one situation, it is systemic, and in another situation, it is organizing against. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. You are kind of breaking up a little bit, but I got the gist of what you're saying, and that's actually really interesting. And I'm going to look into that this week. That may actually be a topic when we don't have something to report on next week whenever we're down doing election night, because that would be
really should
cool
look
to get
into
into
what
it.
social media does to the American people, the divisiveness, the way people can infiltrate it and influence people, the fake.
There's actually a doc on Netflix right now that I've been told I need to watch.
Yes, you need to watch that, because it's very eye-opening how, it made me want to get rid of Facebook. That's how bad it is. It made me want to get rid of Twitter. I can't because
You're not allowed to get rid of Facebook.
That's what I'm saying. I can't because of what we do, because we do this podcast. You know what I'm saying? But because of the way that the algorithms work, they influence you in ways that you don't even realize. You have no fucking clue how you are influenced by these things. How many times you check your goddamn phone because it's designed to make you look at your goddamn phone. Okay.
Well, how many times have we all been like, "Oh, I want to look at," or you have a conversation with your wife, for example, Sean, and you're like, "Hey, I want Shipley's Donuts." Flip open Facebook and oh shit.
But that happens, but that's rare compared to how they influence you. Okay. They get you hooked. It's almost like, it works on the dopamines of the brain. How many times am I going to check my phone? Well, the things that go on your post affect that. And they know what you want to look at. And that's why you see what you want to see. And it's been fucking designed that way. Okay. It's very meticulous. It's very manipulative. But it is designed that way, and most people are just like, "Oh, I love Facebook. This is really cool." But before you know it, 3 hours have gone by.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's 3 hours of your life you'll never fucking get back. Did you really spend quality time with a family member or with a friend in a deep conversation about something, or were you a zombie for 3 fucking hours? That's what they're creating, fucking zombies.
You're absolutely right about that. Well, guys, we're going to go ahead. We got about, 27 minutes left, so we're going to kind of speed round this shit. Oh, my God, we're actually going to make it to the 10 o'clock hour. Yay, us. Anyway, with that being said, Vice President Pence is continuing to campaign despite positive tests in his inner circle. And we have a story from CBS this morning.
Good morning to you, TV viewers. We are now in the final full week of campaigning for the presidential election. It's just 8 days away, if you can believe that. Americans will make a decision bound to change history. And so far, the voters seem very eager to participate in this. As you can see, early turnout, look at the lines, has been massive, including in battleground states. It's estimated nearly 60 million Americans have already cast their ballots in early voting.
This comes as the U.S. hits new highs in daily coronavirus case numbers, including record numbers Friday. 228,000 people were newly diagnosed in just 3 days. We're also hearing about a second outbreak of the virus at the White House, this time involving aides to Vice President Pence. Weijia Zhang is there. Weijia, will the vice president be quarantining?
Good morning, Anthony. No, the White House said that Vice President Mike Pence will not change his campaign schedule because he is considered essential personnel. CDC guidelines say those people can continue working as long as they are asymptomatic and take precautions. But critics say campaigning is not an essential duty.
We need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House.
Campaigning in North Carolina, Vice President Mike Pence made no mention of the COVID-19 outbreak in his inner circle. The vice president's chief of staff, Mark Short, outside political advisor, Marty Obst, and 3 additional aides tested positive for the virus over the weekend. His press secretary said while Vice President Pence is considered a close contact with Mr. Short, he will maintain his schedule because he is essential personnel. The vice president wore a mask on and off the plane.
Get it done, North Carolina.
But took it off while giving his speech. Many in the crowd were not covering their faces either. The same was true at President Trump's rally in New Hampshire, where he told supporters, contrary to evidence, the end of the pandemic is near.
We're rounding the turn. Even without the vaccines, we're rounding the turn. It's going to be over.
On Sunday, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows suggested the spread of the coronavirus is inevitable.
We're not going to control the pandemic. We are going to control the fact that we get vaccines, therapeutics, and other mitigation.
Why aren't we going to get
areas
control of the pandemic?
Because it is a contagious virus, just like the flu.
In battleground Michigan, Senator Kamala Harris called out the Trump administration.
They are admitting defeat, and I've been saying that, and Joe Biden has been saying that since the beginning.
Harris, who quarantined after some of her staffers tested positive earlier this month, also said the White House should follow their lead, including Vice President Pence.
Listen, he should be following the guidelines.
Vice President Pence did test negative for the virus yesterday, but Democrats are slamming his plan to preside.
Okay, that's pretty much all that matters to what we're saying. Okay, so I have a couple schools of thought here. Number 1, keep your fucking mask on. Number 2, you're not fucking essential personnel. Number 3, they only want him to stop campaigning because it'll make life easier for them. I truly do believe that. I will say that it's very convenient that they're yelling, "Oh my God, have him stop campaigning." Like, bro, there's 8 fucking days left. Are you kidding me? Do you think that's a viable option? Unless, if he's non-symptomatic, do you really think that's a viable option? So I'm on both sides here. Fucking keep your mask on. Fucking all that shit. You're not essential personnel, so don't claim to be. But also, you can't fucking expect anybody to stop a presidential fucking campaign to quarantine for 14 days. We'll start with you, Manic Hispanic.
Well, my question was answered whenever they said that he had already tested negative, because I know when I was working in a place where 50% of the electricians that were on that job came up positive. It took a day and a half for me to get my results back, and that was over. So
right.
I know that they can rush that test for vice president.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The fact that he came up negative, I think, right there, it's why do you need a quarantine? You're negative.
I would agree, especially with 8 days. Like I said, you're not essential personnel. You need to fucking wear your mask. But come on now. Once again, this is a fucking presidential election. Sean, we'll go to you.
I mean, what can I say? The guy should wear his fucking mask no matter what. They all should.
Right.
As far as the whole quarantining thing, if he's negative, then he doesn't need to quarantine.
I think their argument is because he's been exposed, he should, according to CDC guidelines.
I mean, he doesn't have it. He's not asymptomatic, so then he should be able to continue campaigning. Again, it is the election cycle. You're not going to fucking stop it.
Right.
I mean, what do we need to call off the election?
Right.
I mean, if we do that, we're not going to have a president in November. Okay? So it's going to fall to somebody else. And if we go down the chain of command,
it'll be Nancy fucking Pelosi.
No, it won't.
Oh, it wouldn't be Nancy?
If Nancy doesn't win her re-election, it could be whoever beats her.
Oh, Jesus
You
Christ.
know what I'm saying? It's not necessarily given to Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
There are a whole lot of factors that people aren't looking into. So we either end the cycle or we just keep moving forward. I say move forward and get it the fuck over with.
Thank you. I mean, I know we're excited to be doing this on election night, but I'm so ready for it to fucking be over. Fox, what do you think? Do you think the vice president should be quarantining for 14 days?
It isn't like half his people. I'm sorry, I tuned out. Isn't like half his people positive for COVID?
Yeah. His inner circle.
Because here's the thing, and this may have changed since the last time I cared about like the statistics for when I was going through surgery because I had to care.
Right.
But isn't like the false negative like somewhere in like the 70 percentile or something? Like 70% of tests are false negatives. So you want to get like at least 3 or 4 tests before you really truly say, hey, okay, I'm done.
I would think that they're like the NFL though, and they're getting daily tested. I would hope.
Even then,
fall into the same category.
Right? Like even then, you've got a 2-week incubation period before you would even exhibit symptoms. So it's like you could be carrying this. Like if half your fucking staff's got it, you could be carrying. Even if you have no symptoms, you could be asymptomatic and not know. Like you literally are carrying this shit around and dispersing it to other people.
We want them to catch it, though.
Potentially, you're right, though, Fox. I did think about that 14-day thing. As far as potentially, would it even show up right now? But with that being said, once again, you're in a presidential election. I don't think it's feasible for him. I mean, I know he's only the vice president, but he's still the vice fucking president. You've got 8 days. Fucking wear your mask, though. For the love of God, wear your damn mask.
No, we are in the digital age. You could fill an arena and put Zoom up on the.
Very true. That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. I didn't think about that.
You could be like we have Little Rock hosting online town halls, Conway hosting online, not town halls, but like city council meetings.
Yeah, right about that. I'd like to see
you
some
could
Big
be
Brother
doing this
going
online.
on.
I did not think about that though. That's a damn good point. In my opinion,
Michael.
I just think it's funny that it came from the person having the most trouble with their internet right now.
Very true. Very true. Okay, guys. Well, on to our final topic, and me and Sean kind of blew me off when I asked this, but is history repeating itself 40 years later? But our flipping parties. Jimmy Carter lost the 1980 presidential election because of the energy crisis and his mishandling it, or that was a large portion of it. Do you think COVID could be his energy crisis? I don't think we're looking for a landslide like Reagan just absolutely mopped the fucking floor with Jimmy Carter. But you think COVID will be Trump's ultimate energy crisis?
I think so because he hasn't handled it well. The administration has failed to save people. 200,000 plus people have died. He's not taking it seriously. I mean, you heard him in the last segment that you played. It's almost over.
We're rounding the quarter.
We're rounding the quarter. I mean, he's been saying this for goddamn 9 months. Fuck this guy already.
Oh, remember, he wanted to be open by Easter.
Right, and that's what most people, I don't care if you're conservative or if you're a Democrat, if you're liberal, if you're a progressive, whatever. Most people are just tired of the bullshit and they want to change. And I think that's why Biden might win, is because they really want fucking change. They're tired of the shit show, the experiment's over. This reality TV star has blown it. He's no good. He's a fucking piece of shit. Let's get rid of him. Let's go back to what we had before that actually worked.
Manic Hispanic, if Biden wins next week, are we saying coronavirus is the reason?
I don't think so, because I don't think enough people find an issue with it. You see, the amount.
There's 200,000 people that have an issue with it.
Yeah.
No. What I'm saying is, you see his rallies and all the people not wearing masks. That's that many people that don't think it's that big of a deal.
Well, a lot of people think the earth is flat too, but we don't take them seriously either.
Dude, what?
Well, I mean, but those flat earthers are still voting.
True.
You're right.
Good point.
Whether or not we take them seriously doesn't mean they don't have a vote.
That's all I'm saying, and I'm not saying he's right or wrong on that. I'm not saying they're right or wrong on that. I'm just saying I don't think it's enough of an issue in people's minds that they would not vote for Trump if they were already going to vote for Trump because of that.
I would agree. I would agree. His base, I don't think is changing.
There are so
their
many
mind.
people that are so sick of this. They're so sick of how this has been mishandled that they want someone else to take over. There are a lot of people that feel that way.
I will say that the only hope, and please, y'all know I'm pessimist, so it's teeny tiny hope. The only hope is that in 2016 you had Democrats defecting to vote for Trump because they hated Hillary so goddamn much.
There was a lot of that.
There was.
But, and in this election, I think you're going to find you have Trump's base. And
well, I wasn't his base, but
you've got Trump's base, and then you've got the people who just vote Republican because that's just what they've always voted forever. That's what all of those people. I don't think you're going to have any. There's only one. I don't like that. I'm sorry. I don't think you're going to have Democrats being like, nah, fuck Biden. We're going to go vote for Trump, guys. I just don't think you're going to have that this time.
I think we're sponsored by Coors Light now. Coors, election night 2020, presented by Coors Light. I'm just saying, make it happen. You got 8 days. We can get you the address of the lake house.
Right? I want Coors for a year.
I want some quality house because I'm going to hate myself the next day, and it might as well be fun.
Hey, we're gonna wake up the next day. Manic Hispanic's gonna be like, "Where you guys at?" We're gonna be like,
Sean drank a whole bottle of Red Stag and puked all over Michael. It was horrid. It was
okay, guys. Well,
I'm the responsible one getting up and going to work next morning.
Hey, I got vacation time.
No, I already asked for the day off and it was approved.
There we go. Okay, guys, 8 days before the election, I honestly cannot say I've even thought about who my American Idiot of the Week is, so I'm giving America a pass this week. Fox, you got one?
Fuck. Circle back around. I always never know.
It's okay. Sean?
Yes. All of the assholes that voted for that lady to become the fucking next Supreme Court Justice. Every one of them. They're all assholes. They're all pieces of crap because now we're going to see the fucking Handmaid's Tale happen. Everything that Ruth Bader Ginsburg actually stood for over the last goddamn 30 years is going to be erased. And that sucks for women. I fucking hate that.
Sean, take a breath. Manic Hispanic?
It's a large group, but to put a face on the group, I'm going to go with Kristen Welker.
Okay, explain.
These people that don't understand how laws are made and passed.
Okay.
I want to talk about whenever she said, but you're the president. That doesn't matter. Laws are made at the congressional level. It doesn't matter who the president is. So saying, are you going to do this? And saying, well, Nancy Pelosi has to sign off on, but you're the president.
Oh, wait. Oh, you're talking about the moderator from the debate. It took me a second. I apologize. Yes. The moderator from last week's debate. It's a good one. It's a good one. She did a better job than the first moderator. I think it was, who was it? Chris Wallace from MSNBC?
Chris Isaac at this point.
Yeah, like he fucking flubbed that shit.
Right.
Anyway, that was the worst debate in human history, and you are disqualified from ever hosting another one, sir.
I hope, I hope they put a bullet in his head. That was terrible.
Damn! Hold up now, Sean. Hold up now. We're not taking people to the glue factory over this.
I don't like boomers. You know this. It's okay.
Damn.
Americans will get over it. I'm mean.
I have an American Idiot.
Okay, go for it.
It is also a large group of people, but it's it's gonna be that group of people we talked about earlier that think that Joe Biden is not just as much of a fascist fuck as Donald Trump. And I am going to get unbelievably fucking infuriated if all of this work that we've done this summer for racial equality if he fucking, for whatever reason, wins, if all these little Facebook liberals decide they're going to just fucking not do the work anymore because Joe Biden's their president, I'm going to fucking beat all of their asses. Like, I'm going to drag them into drag them into the street, and I'm going to curb stop every fucking
It's already started, Fox. It's already started.
Here's the beauty
fuck
of this
all
election.
of them.
Here's the beauty
Like,
of this
this is my
election.
PSA. Fuck every single one of them. I'm so fucking sick of them.
But
you're right, though.
This is the beauty of this election and the last 20, right? The bombs will never stop dropping on civilians throughout the world. It doesn't matter who gets elected. Obama didn't stop it. Carter didn't stop it. Clinton didn't stop it. The Bushes definitely didn't stop it. Trump
Hey, you know
loves
what?
that
Fuck you.
shit, right? And if Biden gets in there, guess what? More kids are going to fucking die in the Middle East. Little children. Right? Israel, we're not going to stop Israel from fucking killing Palestinians. That's not going to happen. Why? Religious superstition. It's just not going to happen. Nothing's going to fucking change. Just little minute changes here and there. That's it. But the status quo is going to keep fucking going until we fucking have a third party that fucking changes everything.
I would agree. Once again, I will say this. The best hope that I can see from this election is that the third party does well and presents themselves as a quality opposition. But ladies and gentlemen, we will see you.
Even get onto a stage.
That's my point.
Yeah,
I want to see it happen, though. I want to see this drive it. The fact that we have no fucking option.
I mean, years ago, 200 years ago, you did have third parties. And they were taken seriously. But nowadays, I mean, ever since Ross Perot got up there and was allowed to act like a fucking insane maniac, the rest of them haven't. Well, did she say Illuminati?
She said fuck liberals.
Yeah, fuck liberals. Suck.
But then again, Joe may be part of the Illuminati with Trump. Oh, shit. Hold on, I hear a drone outside my house.
That's not how they're going to get you, Michael. They're going to get you with all those sweets that you like to eat.
Hey, shut up. Quarantine's been bad to me.
Yeah.
Fuck, I'm about to
You'll
go
never
eat
see
some
it coming,
candy,
dude. You'll
too.
die in your sleep, really happy and cozy, fat, all warm, and you'll never wake up.
I mean, that sounds great to me, though.
It does. That's what we'll get most of us.
And on that very optimistic note, we will see you in 8 short days. Once again, want to remind you we will not be having a show next Monday night.
I'm gonna be so fucked up.
Tuesday live, election night 2020. Sean, stick around.
We're playing the best drinking game. I mean, just the name Biden or Trump, we have to take a shot. I'm gonna die.
Holy shit!
I'm gonna fucking die. I will die.
Holy shit, Sean! Y'all stick around after the credits roll. We'll be right back. We'll see you next Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen.